All right. Well, it is 6:01. We got people trickling in, but let's go ahead and kick off this season. So I'm Gillian. I am one of the first timer coaches here. We also have Coach Chris in one of the screens there, who's one of the other coaches, and also or the community manager with Supertri. And we'll both introduce ourselves a little bit more. But most importantly, I want to say congratulations on taking the biggest step here, which is just signing up to do your first triathlon. Or maybe for some of you, it's been a while, so it might be your second or third, so congratulations. That's the hardest part. So now you're here. And our goal is to make sure that this summer is fun, challenging, but most importantly, that you get to race day feeling really confident, so you can just go out and enjoy the great day that the Chicago Triathlon is going to be. So a few kind of things about these clinics. They are totally here for you. So yes, we've had a first timers team for this will be the 9th year. So we kind of can anticipate some of the questions, but this is all about you. So do not hesitate to pop questions in the chats, to yell them out, especially because we've got our team here that's actually on the first Zoom video. So the pressure's on you to ask all the questions that the other 495 plus athletes who aren't here are wanting to know. So I promise you, I've been doing this long enough. If it's a question in your mind, even if you think it's the craziest question, ask it, because there are a lot of people wondering the same thing. As we go through this, we're also both myself and Chris are going to share our email addresses. You are always, if there's something that that is specific to you, or you just don't want to ask in the clinic, feel free to always email us. That's what we're here for. We are here to support you in whatever way can make this a better experience than it already is going to be. So this is the 101 clinic. So we're going to kind of take a high level look at what a triathlon is, how it works. It's April, so you are ahead of the game that you are even here, but what to start thinking about, and hopefully answer some of those questions that you have. So again, I said, sorry, and I'm also getting over a cold here. My name's Gillian Faley. So why I am here is I did my first triathlon in May of 2011. And I always like to start with my story because hopefully it provides some comfort. So I did my first triathlon without having a first timers program, without using Google to Google, how does this thing work? What do I need? I just showed up with my bike, a wetsuit, because somebody did tell me I need a wetsuit, but I had never worn it. So I showed up to a pond in Rockford and was like, okay, let's do this. And needless to say, I had no idea where to put my stuff or what I was doing, but I got in the water. I took about 4 strokes, and then I was like, I am nearly certain, I am having some kind of medical event. And so turned right back around, went up to the referee or the official and was like, I need somebody to come over here. And he was like, you're having a panic attack. Take a deep breath. You're okay. But needless to say, that was the end of my day. I actually kind of walked away and was going to my car, and somebody comes running after me. It was like, I need your swim chip. And so that was a really disappointing moment, but happy news. I did my first successful triathlon the end of that summer by coming back from Rockford to Chicago, going down to Ohio Street Beach, meeting a lot of lovely triathletes who were like, oh, yeah, let me tell you a few things. Got in the water with me. And then so in the end of the summer of 2011, I did my first triathlon, and it changed my life. And may sound cheesy, But I'm very passionate about it. It changed my life so much that I then 3 years later opened a triathlon store, much to the bewilderment of my parents. But and then a year later, we decided to a group of people with the Chicago Triathlon, we started our first timers program, because what through my own experience and talking to a lot of the athletes coming into our store, everybody was going into their first triathlon, having no idea what they were doing. A lot of times that just did not make the day fun. And so in 2015, we launched this program, and it's been going since. It's grown from about 40 athletes to, I think there were 700 or 800 first timers last year. And I feel so privileged to be a part of so many triathletes' journey. Some who come back to just come to these clinics to share their insight. And so if there's any of you here, shout out. But turns out retail's not my thing, and so my passion in triathlons now is running a youth organization in Chicago to get more youth into the sport of triathlon. So these are some of our athletes from 2 years ago doing the kids triathlon. And as you will hear, Coach Chris here is an amazing resource. We have very different, I think, purposes though in this first timers program. I am here for the cheering and the you can do it. Chris is too, but he is also here to kind of to be able to give you a much higher level of knowledge around training and stuff like that. I'm just an attorney who really loves triathlons. So I'm going to throw it over to Chris to introduce himself real quick. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. And as background too, I've gotten into the sport, I think back in 2005, maybe. I can't remember. But I didn't know how to swim. I used a mountain bike. I did backstroke, and I just kind of survived my first experience. But like Leon, I learned to love this sport and quit my day job and just became a full-time coach. So I've been involved with the Chicago Triathlon now for over 20 years, both as an athlete, a coach, and kind of everything in between. And I'm now the Supertri community manager for the Chicago Tri. So any, club, athlete, coach, anyone who's got questions about the Chicago Triathlon, wants to get involved in the Chicago Triathlon, I'm here as a resource for you guys. So like Gillian said, there's no stupid questions. You can ask anything and everything you want. And we're here to help you guys out and make it a fun experience, because I remember being very nervous about my first triathlon, and if we can help alleviate any fears and get you guys as hooked as we are, it would be awesome to see that happen this year. So I'll be here on the chat kind of answering questions, and I might jump in at the very end as well, but just wanted to say hi.
Thanks, Coach Chris. All right, so that's who we are. You're gonna see us a lot this summer. So Chicago Triathlon, an amazing triathlon. Like Chris just said, he's been involved for 20 years. It's been going on for nearly 40 years, and it's an amazing race. Though one of the world's largest races, it doesn't feel like that. It's very first-timer friendly. The atmosphere is very community focused. There's lots of spectators. So you picked a very good triathlon as your first. Nothing to knock on Rockford, but much better than a Rockford pond. So first timers program, what does this really involve? First thing is these clinics. There's going to be 6 of them. We're going to hit everything from Triathlon 101 today to the swim, bike, run, the transition clinic, and then kind of a race day 101 near the end of the summer. So these clinics, if you can't make one, they will always be posted in our and at the bottom of the slide, you will see our Chicago Triathlon First Timers Program Facebook group. We use Facebook because it is, it's the easiest one. So, but I understand a fair number of people don't have Facebook. So if you don't have Facebook, I'm going to put my email in the chat here in a little bit. And you can always email me after the clinics and I will send you the links. Or if you can't make the clinics, send me an email and I'll send you the links to them. But there is the First Timers Facebook group. The goal of that is just a place to ask questions. Again, myself and Coach Chris and some other coaches will be there to answer them, but it's also just a community place. You know, hey, if you are in Chicago, I'm going down to Ohio Street Beach on Saturday. If any first timers are also going to be down there, things like that. So the other really cool things about the first timer program is, as we'll talk about, there will be a specific area in transition, and we will talk about what transitions are. If you are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, you're going to have a specific, if you wanted, swim kind of wave. There's also going to be just support down on race day. So again, myself being down there, there's going to be a first timers area. So the goal is that we help you get ready for race day, but then you also have support on race day. All right, so let's jump right in. What did you sign up for? And maybe you just rolled the dice and picked one of them, but most likely it's a bit more intentional. So either there are 3 different races that take place on race weekend. There's the Super Sprint, which is on Saturday. The Sprint and International are on Sunday. And so if you're doing the Super Sprint, that's on Saturday, and it is actually up north at Foster Beach. The Sprint and International is down in the city. And this is important because we have at times had people go to the wrong place and be like, where's this, 3,000 person race? But here are the distances, just to remind you if you signed up a long time ago. If you're doing the Super Sprint, you're doing a 0.23 mile swim, a 6.2 mile bike, and a 1.5 mile run. Now, the good thing about most triathlons is you just kind of keep doubling the distances. So then the sprint is pretty much double the Super Sprint. And then the International is pretty much double the sprint. And then you can go into some longer distance triathlons from there. So those are the distances. So do we, and I think Zoom has like the thumbs up thing or whatever, do we have any super sprinters in the room today? Just so I can make sure I touch upon it if there are. Do I see any? Okay. Perfect. Then we are going to hit on the super sprint. So the super sprint is on Saturday. Like I said, that is the swim for that is up at Foster Beach. So this is the course map, and you can find this on the Chicago Triathlon's webpage. The best thing, well, for somebody like me who's not a super early bird, is that it's a little bit later of a race. It kicks off at 10 a.m. after the kids' triathlon. So on both this course map and the next ones you'll see for the Sunday race, the orange box is where transition is. And I'm going to talk more about what transition is, but think of that as kind of your home base. And for most races, you're going to go back to transition after each leg of the race. So after you swim, and then after you bike, and then when the race is over, that's where you'll go get your stuff. So this is kind of your home base. For the super sprint, the swim is a U-shaped swim out of Foster Beach. So it's actually a beach start. You swim out to a buoy, you take a turn, and you come back in. So you do have some portion, depending on water levels, where you actually will run through the water to get started. The bike is super first timer friendly. It is totally enclosed, and you do 3 laps on the bike. And then the run is on the lakefront path south down to Montrose Beach. So that is the course map for the super sprint. And then moving on to Sunday's race. So this takes place down in Monroe Harbor, which is near Grant Park. if we see here again, if you find the orange box, so that's the transition area. So that's going to be near where the yacht club is. So kind of where the river walk turns to go south. You usually see the yacht club. There's a big grassy knoll. That's where transition is there. The swim takes place in Monroe Harbor. So it starts at around Balboa Avenue. So you guys, there's an S here. So you'll go to transition in the morning and then walk south along the water to get to the swim start. And I'm going to go into each leg of the race a little bit more to talk about what the what the swim looks like, what the bike looks like. But that's where the swim starts. If you're doing the international, you're going to swim south, then swim north. If you're doing the sprint, you're just swimming north. The bike for the sprint and the international takes place on Lakeshore Drive. So one of the lanes is fully closed off to any traffic. So you're going to ride north, all the way north on for the sprint and the international. You're riding all the way north on Lakeshore Drive, doing a 180-degree turn, coming back south. If you are doing the sprint, then you come off the bike course and go back into transition. If you're doing the Olympic distance or international, and I realize I'm now going back and forth. International and Olympic are often used very interchangeably. So if I say international or Olympic, they're the same thing. It's the same course or race. So then the bike for the international comes off Lakeshore Drive and does Lower Wacker and the McCormick Busway. And then it comes back to transition. And then both runs are the same course on the lakefront path. With the sprint turning around where you can see the first yellow dot, which is just south of Soldier Field. And the international distance is all the way down to 31st Street. And then both of them finish on Columbus Drive. So that's the course for that one. Let's see. I see a question about the swim. Great. The question about the swim is how deep is Monroe Harbor? So it is deep enough that you are not going to be touching the ground. So let's see. I think my next slide might be getting into swim. So I'm going to hold on to that question for 2 minutes and then we'll talk more about how deep the swim is. So transition, what we talked about, our home base. So this is where you're going to go first thing in the morning, and put your stuff in transition. So that's your bike. That's everything you need for the bike, everything you need for the run. And then you're going to take the stuff that you need for the swim and leave transition. And you won't be coming back until after you get out of that water and you're done with the swim. So this is kind of a picture of one of the years. And as you can see, the first timers always have their own racks, which are always perfectly positioned for an easy in and out. So being a very large triathlon, there are a lot of bikes and a lot of people, but one of the perks of the First Timers program is a good positioning in transition. So for your first triathlon, you can easily find your bike and your stuff. And we're going to do a whole clinic on transitions. How do I find my bike amongst 4,000 bikes? How do I set up my stuff? We're going to do a whole clinic on all of that. So that's transition. Just kind of a little, preview. The international distance goes first as a race, and then the sprint goes. Because it is a large triathlon and lots of athletes, the race takes a long time. And so it will be a very early morning, whatever way you cut it. But especially if you're doing the international, you're going to be getting down to the race somewhere between 4 a.m. and 5:45 a.m. Good thing is your adrenaline is going to be through the roof, so you're going to be wide awake and ready to go. For the sprint, you can either come at that time or a later time. And again, we'll talk more about that as we get closer to race day, but just to kind of put it in your head. as far as that. Let's see. I'm gonna get through transition, and maybe we'll take a pause for any transition in core. Oh, we are through transition. Let's take a little pause and see if there's any transition related questions. I do. Okay. One of the great questions is how much time is there between the time you leave transition in the morning to the start of the swim? So again, one of the things about Chicago Triathlon is that it is a large race. So the good thing is you will have more than enough time to take your time to get down to the swim and get yourself ready and everything. What exactly the amount of time depends on when your swim start is. And I do believe, so it can be usually the first time. I hesitate a little bit because I think that the triathlon is still figuring out what way they're going to do the swim start this year. But you're probably at least going to have an hour plus. I think that's a fair assumption before the start. It may be more than that. But again, the good thing is, one, there's going to be people in the water going already, so you can kind of get a look at what the water's like, kind of get comfortable watching other people swimming, things like that. And then also, like what I talked about, is there will be a first timers area near the swim start that will have water. Also, if you decide to wear a wetsuit, you can put your wetsuit on there. There's going to be, again, coaches there to help with that. But there is usually a fair amount of time between leaving in transition and the swim start. So hopefully that answered that question. Let's see. Okay, we'll come back at the end if I missed any other transition questions. But okay, the swim. I know it is. You either love it or it is the thing that you're like, what did I sign up for? So, but by the time race day comes, you're going to be ready for it. So the swim, how does it work? So this is a picture of the first timers wave lined up to get into the water. So how it usually works is that you're going to have a wave. See, if you look at all of these athletes are wearing the same color cap. And they are lined up within the first timers wave. And you're going to line up, probably 30 minutes before you get in the water. And you're kind of in a chute and make your way to the swim start. But as you can see, a lot of smiling, happy people. They're ready to go. So it's actually a very fun time to kind of get pumped up. Again, they do a very good job of making it a fun environment. The swim. So like the question asked, how deep is it? Unlike the Saturday race where you do start on the beach, so there's a period of time that you're running through the water, and then you start to swim once it gets too deep. The swim for Sunday's race, you are never going to be able to touch the ground. They put staircase that go down into the water, so that's what these athletes are coming off of. And when it's your time to go, you will go down the stairs and jump into the water and take off for your swim. Though I think some is still being worked out exactly what the swim waves are going to look like. What is for sure is that it is what's called a rolling start. So years ago, it would be, 100 athletes in the water at once and then all start. This is, they'll start 5 athletes in a line or whatever it is and say go, and those 5 athletes will go, and then another 5 will line up behind them and then go, and it's just a continuous kind of rolling start, which I think is really nice. It's not quite as much as a mass swim. If you look, so you can see the picture on the right here is an actual picture of the swim. The boats are moved out of the way. If you are doing the international, like I said, you are going to swim south towards the aquarium for about 370-ish meters, and then you'll do a 180 turn and come back north all the way back up. If you're doing the sprint, you are going to get in the water and then take a left and swim north up until where you'll see the out of water staircase. So that's the picture on the right here. So you come back out the same way you went in. The great thing about the swim is that it is fully staffed. So you have your lifeguards on one side, and then if you look really closely, you can see there are boats out in the water where there are other lifeguards. So there'll be people on paddle boards, there'll be people in kayaks, in the little lifeguard boats that are out there. And we will talk more about this in the swim, you can stop and hold on to those boats if you need to. That is totally fine. They cannot, obviously, take you to the finish line. But there is you can stop at every one of them. You can, if when you're getting started, it gives you, it makes you more comfortable, as you're starting, you can hold on to the first couple, whatever it is, they're there to be a support. And that is, so just know that in your mind that is there, and it is totally fine. And you will see a lot of people just taking a breather, and that is, so just so kind of to give a visual. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to stop here. Chris, are there any themes of questions that we should address regarding the swim or transition?
I'm answering a few of the questions in the chat already. But yeah, a couple questions, does everyone starts together if you're in the first timers program? And yeah, there's a dedicated first timers wave. And there's a question about the swim cutoff time. So those will be based on how many people are signed up for the race. But generally, yeah, there will be a cutoff time if you're in that last wave, which is when the first timers wave traditionally is. But it's a pretty generous cutoff time. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it's at least 40 minutes maybe for the sprint, and an hour 20 maybe for the Olympic. But don't quote me on that. It could change when the athlete guide comes out, typically about a month or more before the race. That's when they'll have the specific timing of that. But it's pretty generous.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up. So this was a big question last year, and it was a very ongoing conversation in the Facebook chat, and so I finally just went to the head official of the triathlon and asked him kind of how to answer the question about the cutoff time. And yes, Chris said, there is technically one, but what he said to me, and I think, and I'll pull up his, maybe post it in Facebook, because I think it gave a lot of people comfort. One, if you are here today, you are already ahead of the game. The biggest issues with the swim are people who show up to race day, like me, in Rockford, and having never gotten the water. Then I cannot confidently tell, be like, yeah, you're going to be fine. But if you are here today and you are going to be okay. And that's what I love about Chicago. And I'm not just saying this, but it is designed for every person to cross the finish line. And that's what the official, had said, is that if you're moving forward and you are, making progress forward, they're going to do everything they can to get you across that finish line. So, try not to worry about that, especially at this point. And we're going to talk about in a few minutes all of the resources that are available to ensure that you feel confident on race day. I know this is confusing that I call it the red carpet run, but I promise you there have been years that it was red. But this is a picture. So because of the way that where the exit of the swim out is, And then where transition is, there's about a little less than a quarter of a mile uh, walk, run, whatever, crawl, whatever it is, wherever you're at after the swim, back to the transition. And so I always want to say this so it's not a surprise when you get out of the water and you're like, what? I got to go all the way over there. So just knowing when you get out of the water to get to transition after the swim, and I swear years it has been red, and so I call it the red carpet. But use this time to just get your bearings, to get your sea legs out from under you. It does not need to be, a full-on sprint. We'll talk more about this, but as you can see, two of these athletes taking their wetsuits down halfway. So it can be a useful, little less than a quarter of a mile time. All right, the bike. So you've gone into transition. Now you got to switch out from your swim stuff. You're going to put your bike stuff on. Again, we're going to talk all about transition at one point. And since you're going to find the bike out area, we'll talk about that and have maps around that later this summer. You're going to go to the bike out area, and then you're going to take off on your bike. Both of these are pictures from the race. So the first one here on the left is the going north on Lakeshore Drive. The one on the right here is that busway, the lower whacker to the busway of the international distance. And again, we'll have a whole clinic on the bike, but there is one kind of unique thing of the Chicago Triathlon that for the sprint portion of the bike, you actually ride on the left and pass on the right. But again, we'll make sure you know all about that before race day. But again, as you can see, a very large race. But from all these pictures, it's not like, the mass of, bike the drive. Like, you're going to have room to ride. And we'll talk about some of the safety things and the rules about spacing and stuff as we go through the summer. And then you're going to ride back in, whether you're from the international or the sprint, and then you're taking off on the run. If you've done a 5K, the run very much, or any kind of running race, very similar. There will be aid stations on the run. Historically, it's been water and Gatorade. Pretty standard run. On the right here, we have the finish line up Columbus Drive. It's amazing. It's like a professional race, which it is. You should feel like. And then the finish line finishes up Columbus Drive. After the finish line, it's time to celebrate. It's the Finish Line Festival where friends, family, other first timers, you can celebrate the day. So that is a very high level. I like to include the pictures so you can visualize it if you've never been down to see it, kind of what to expect. Let's see. All right. So I'm just going to go through a quick couple of things. So like I think I said at the beginning, I run an organization called Live Grit. So I love the word grit, and I think it very much applies to triathlon. So we came up with this. All you need to do your first triathlon is a little grit, a goal, the right tools, some inspiration, and some training, and you're good. You will be crossing that finish line. So starting off with a goal. Of course, your goal is the triathlon. That's why we're all here. But also, what I love about triathlons, and I hope you will love about triathlons, is frankly, it's the, whatever today is, the April 23rd to August, now I'm blanking on the date, 23rd. It's that time that actually, is the most formative. And so kind of thinking about what is your goal for this summer? Is it just to have fun? Is it to conquer the swim, get more comfortable on your bike, raise awareness about a cause? There's lots of charity groups, meet new people, whatever it is, setting goals for this summer as well. And so that you really take advantage of the whole journey that you're about to embark on. Now, the right tools, aka gear. I know this is a big question, and we again will go more in depth as we go through the summer. But in triathlons, there's actually 4 sports. I know we thought we only signed up for 3, but swim, bike, run, and transitions. And what you will learn is transitions are a sport. And, your transition can be, I'm blanking. We had the guy that holds like the record. I don't know if it was like 45 seconds or a minute and a half or something crazy. Come to the store one time. Could be that, or I had the most lovely customer that I loved him so much. And he would sit and have a sandwich and take his time, and 25 minutes later decide it was time to go on his way. And that's the experience that he wanted. So transitions, and the best thing is that transitions are a way you can cut down your time year over year with pretty minimal training. So we call it 4 sports. So for tools or for gear, there's a lot out there. And once you start getting into the triathlon world, there's going to be something for everything. They have thought up of everything. And gear, it does all have a purpose. It either makes you faster, it makes it easier, makes you more comfortable. So everything does have a purpose, but not everything is necessary, and especially not necessary for your first triathlon. So the reason why I have this slide is because I never want gear to be the reason that somebody doesn't do a triathlon. So we've kind of come up with the triathlon basics. And even some of this we can whittle down to make it not be a barrier. And as you go through your triathlon journey, you might decide, I want to invest in this because it does one of these 3 things. And I love this sport and I think I'm going to do this for a long time. Or maybe you want to do that your first year, but just knowing that it's an option and that gear does not have to be the barrier, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to invest in. So if we go over here, this is kind of our triathlon basics. So for the swim portion in blue, you do need something to swim in. And yes, you can swim in a swimsuit. We'll again talk about that more and more. But for triathlons, they do have specific triathlon clothing. And triathlon clothing is something that is designed to swim, to bike, and to run in. So the way that it's made, so like the padding for the bike is not as thick as, say, like a bike short that's going to hold water. It dries quickly. It's form fitting so that it's not, when you're riding a bike, it's not like flapping in the wind. So they do have triathlon clothing. And this is where I'd say Coach Chris, or I think did I see Coach Joy on here somewhere? Yes. Like if anybody wants to jump in and give their opinion, but as far as like triathlon clothing, I always say for me, the most important thing are the triathlon shorts. That's if I was going to invest in one piece of triathlon clothing, it would be the shorts, in my opinion, because it's lovely. You can swim in it, you can bike in it, you can run. So you can totally wear a swimsuit and put shorts over it. The issue is, and what we say, when you start layering things start to rub, and that's never fun. And so that's my feeling on it. As far as the triathlon top, it totally has a purpose. But you can there were many years when I started that I would wear my shorts and swim in a sports bra and then put on a tank top and go on the bike. So triathlon clothing and then goggles, though not mandatory. I would say I would highly recommend you wear goggles. And we say open water goggles here. And basically what we mean by that is the goggles that don't sit necessarily really, the kind of indoor swim goggles that sit really close in the eye socket. you want a little bit more of a suction wrap around the side so you have good peripheral view. Also knowing that, there might be waves. So you want a good suction so they stay on your face. But pretty much if you go to a triathlon store or a swim shop or whatever, and you look at the goggles, the majority of them would be perfectly great for open water swimming. And I will bring some for the swim clinic next time. And then wetsuit. This is the number one question. Do I need a wetsuit? You do not have to wear a wetsuit. They are not mandatory, but depending on your level of swim and your comfort level, you may want a wetsuit. So yes, wetsuits do a variety of things. They do keep you warm in the cold Chicago water when, the crazy swimmers are out there in Memorial Day weekend. They do keep you warm. But at least for me, I do not have a background in swimming. The most important piece of a wetsuit is it keeps you buoyant. It puts you on top of the water. It brings your hips up on top of the water and it keeps you buoyant. So that helps in two main ways. One, gives you the comfort of the buoyancy. Well, I always have people when they wear a wetsuit for the first time dive into the water and you pop back up like a dolphin. The other thing is, again, not being a necessarily, college swimmer, most of our hips sink in the water. And this does help bring your hips up on top of the water. That does just make swimming easier. And then if you are, a pro swimmer, there is a level of it does make you faster. But for the majority of us average swimmers, I think that's the least important piece of it. But so you may want one. And we're going to talk about it in a little bit. There's going to be open water swim clinics where you can rent one and try one out. I will talk about it a fair amount, but there is a store. There are very few places that in-store sell wetsuits anymore. There's a place called Urban Tri Gear in Westmont that you can go out and try one on. They will also be the ones that rent them at the open water swim clinics. So if you are on the fence, I highly recommend that first swim clinic, rent one. Because it's also something, as take my Rockford story, you're going to want to try on and swim in before race day. Okay, I want to snap through this real quick because I want to get to the training piece. But for the bike, yes, you need a bike. It can be any bike. It needs two wheels and it needs two brakes. So it can't be a fixed gear bike, and it can't be a single speed with one brake. Can be a single speed, but it needs two brakes. But any other bike works. It could be a mountain bike. Again, there are bikes that will make things easier and faster, all of that. But for this race, use what you have. You absolutely need a helmet, and we're going to talk about that. It needs to be on anytime you're touching your bike. As a previous store owner, I promise I'm not trying to sell you helmets because I don't have a store anymore, but they last for 5 years and then they start to degrade. So just thinking about how old is your helmet, though it's kind of like shoes, and they may look good on the outside, but after a while they start to develop air pockets. So just think, and you'll know how old, if you look inside, there's a tag inside your helmet that will tell you when your helmet was made if you can't remember. Does have to be a bike helmet. It can't be like a recreational, like skateboard or skiing helmet. And then shoes and socks. And we will talk about in the bike clinic, like different options. You do not have to clip in. And if you don't know what that means, it's when your shoe clips into your pedal. You do not have to. Again, that's a challenge you want to take on, there are big benefits of that. It can be your shoes on a flat pedal, whatever it is. You actually don't have to wear socks. Sorry. You can just wear shoes if you want, but I don't know why we have socks on here, but anyways, and then for the run, I mean, this was a hard one for us to come up with, but you need shoes. two good things to have are sunglasses or a hat, depending on the weather. And then I'm gonna say this race belt thing. It is a you see them some in running races, but mainly in triathlons, it is a $12 piece of equipment that will save you a lot of hassle. It's very, it's so we will talk more about it, but basically it's because you don't have to wear your number on the front of you, like in a running race. You only have to wear it during the run. So I'm not during the swim and not during the bike. So this is a way to just clip it on and go instead of having to either safety pin it, before the run or wearing it during the bike and it's flapping in the wind. So just a very, it's this little piece of equipment in triathlons that we'll talk more about. But that's it. That's all you really need. Again, lots of things, and we'll talk about more things you can get at each of the individual sports, but just to get your mind going. All right, inspiration, community. There are lots of, that's what's great about Chicago Triathlon is there is a lot of different things that we can do. And I'll make sure all of these resources get posted on the Facebook page. The swim clinics are huge and you definitely want to sign up for those. And I actually think I have let's see, let me skip to the next. There we go. Let's see. Here we go. The open water swim clinics, they kick off May 27th. I think registration is open, at least for some of them. I don't, but you can get there either through owschicago.com, or if you go to the Chicago Triathlon website, you'll see swim clinics and it will kick you there. 100%. Cannot recommend them enough. If you go to these 4 swim clinics, you will be so ready to go on race day. And I'm guessing, get to meet Coach Chris in person. You'll sign up for different kinds of whether you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced. There are Chicagoland coaches that come in to coach all of the clinics. And whether it's your first time in the water or you're like, I can go swim a mile, there's something for you, and they're really wonderful. So sign up for those as soon as possible. And you can rent wetsuits there to try it out. Then we have the Tri 312 indoor triathlons. And I'll let Chris talk more about those when he kicks off the training part. But those are opportunities between now and race day to do an indoor triathlon to get you ready and just kind of get your feet wet in the triathlon world for the August race. And then BFF Bikes, a great shop up in Bucktown, does both Wednesday morning runs and then, again, wonderful Sunday morning rides. So whether you're a beginner or an intermediate, if you go to their website, it'll say kind of what kind of ride it is. If you're newer to riding or want to, haven't ridden with a group, I highly recommend to go to those. And then we have the Chicago Tri Club. Go to their website. They have a bunch of different things, but they're really well known for their muffin runs and their stroke and stride on Thursday afternoons in the summertime. And then one partner of Supertri is My Whoosh, which is if you happen to have an indoor bike trainer, they have a platform there. So again, I'll make sure all of these are on the Facebook page. And then from here, I'm going to kick it over to Chris, if he doesn't mind, to talk about, just give a high level on training and the indoor triathlons.
Yeah. So yeah, the indoor trials, we just wrapped up our last one of the winter season, but we hope to have a couple for the summer as well. So you can stay tuned for that. But yeah, in terms of the swim training, definitely take advantage, as you had mentioned, on the open water swim clinics. Those do sell out, but they're a great opportunity to get an open water. I'm down there, a bunch of our coaches are. I think we have Coach Joy on here as well. And we break up into small groups, about 20 swimmers, and it's a really, really nice environment there at Ohio Street Beach. And it gives you that opportunity to get comfortable open water and then just work on building distance gradually. So we give a lot of good tips and tricks, help you get used to swimming in colder water. And the goal is just build gradually. If you're starting now, you're already ahead of the curve. I would say most athletes don't start until May or June. Um, so if you're swimming in the pool, just gradually build up. Try to go a little bit further each time. Work on your breathing, work on your technique. Try to swim with other people or take classes. We have a lot of coaches in the Chicago area that have swim classes almost every day of the week. So definitely take advantage of those. And then groups like you'd mentioned the Chicago Tri Club, they do open water swim meetups every week. And there's a couple others as well. So definitely take advantage of those opportunities. Um, and if you're doing, you can see in the photo here, the steps, these are like bleacher steps that are built into Monroe Harbor. That's what both the entry and the exit will look like. But if you're doing the Saturday race up at Foster Avenue Beach, it's actually going to be a beach entry where you just gradually walk in. So even more beginner friendly for that one. But it definitely helps to get used to being around other people. The swim clinics, we actually get up to 3, 4, 500 people down at the beach, and we practice mass swim starts with smaller groups. So you really get used to that, getting over that anxiety when you attend the swim clinics. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up for the swim training. And yeah, they do rent wetsuits there. I see that question in the chat. Um, and you can also, by the way, I'll put the link in. Synergy Wetsuits is a partner for the race, and they do rent wetsuits. You can actually rent them online and have them shipped for, I think, a week or a month at a time. So there's opportunities if you can't get out to a shop that has wetsuits for rent, you can just look at the sizing charts online and literally have one delivered to you, which is always nice. For bike training, a lot of people are nervous about biking out in open roads or even on the lakefront trail. It's sometimes hard to do higher intensity training. On race day, you're pretty much on a closed road. All the streets are basically for bikes only. So in order to train for that, a lot of people do indoor training. And that's a great option this time of year. That My Whoosh platform that was mentioned is a free virtual cycling platform. We actually just had Johnny Brownlee, so Olympic medalist, leading a group workout for free on that platform. And we're going to have those happening every month. So definitely take advantage of that. But it is important to get out and do some group riding. Just getting comfortable on your bike, getting used to drinking from your water bottle. Some people get nervous about that. So don't wait until race day to try new stuff. Try to get out on the lakefront trail and practice. And there are a lot of group rides all across Chicago. A lot of bike shops have group rides. That BFF Bikes shop in particular has a super beginner friendly ride. They do beginner friendly and then they do endurance rides. So depending on your ability level, those are great opportunities to get out there and ride with other people. But also make sure you do get your bike tuned up. A lot of people wait until the last minute. You've got the world's largest triathlon in your backyard, and guess what? Bike shops will get a little busy the week or two before the race. So I highly recommend if you have a bike, get it tuned up now, like in the end of springtime, beginning of summer is the best time to do that. And also, if you learn how to fix a flat tire, um, if you're not familiar with how to do that, almost every bike shop, BFF is a good example. They have monthly fix a flat clinics. They'll give you all the items that you need. But the unique thing about the Chicago Tri is we actually have a volunteer bike crew of experienced cyclists and triathletes that just ride the course all day long. And if they see you having a mechanical issue, they pull over. They have spare tubes. They have the tools and supplies that you need to fix a flat, and they'll help you fix it. So I don't know of any other triathlon in the world that does that. So that's what makes it kind of very, very unique and beginner friendly at Chicago. So I think that sums up bike training. And then run training, you can run any speed. We're actually pretty relaxed with time cutoffs, so to speak, on the run. It's really the time cutoffs, the time limits for different parts of the event are really just based on being able to get everybody out of the water at a certain time and to be able to open the city streets, Lakeshore Drive, for car traffic at a certain time. So once you're on the run, you're kind of in the clear. You can pretty much walk if you needed to, and jog your way to the finish. The one thing I will say that is unique about triathlon running, though, if you're not familiar with it, your legs will get a little heavy coming off of a long bike. And so I highly recommend doing cadence drills, like spinning the legs at higher cadences before you get off the bike, especially, shifting into an easier gear, for example, and getting used to that helps a lot. And you're also going to be running at a hotter part of the day. So hydration and fueling becomes important as well. If you do a 5K run, it's usually starting at like 8 a.m. in the morning. But in a triathlon, you might be starting your 5K run closer to noon. So that's the other thing to think about. So if you can practice those, we call brick workouts. People call them bricks because it's like you're just stacking workouts on top of each other like bricks. But we also say it's an acronym. So BRIC, bike, run, and your legs feel icky because they feel heavy. So that's where the name brick came from. And that usually implies just doing a bike workout and then running after. If you're at a gym, go to a spin class and then hop on the treadmill for a couple of minutes afterwards. Like just get used to that feeling and practice those higher cadence efforts if you can. And yeah, those are some average finish times if you're curious. For the sprint distance event, usually most people are about an hour and a half to 2 hours, up to like 2.5 if you're kind of going at a more casual pace as well. I think that's it for the swim, bike, and run training slides. And then the final slide here really just has our contact info. I don't know if you want to take it back over. I did put down here on the bottom, and I'm going to put in the chat here in a second, links to both the Facebook group and there's a new Strava group as well. So just this past couple months, Chicago Tri came out with all new social media pages as they rebranded everything. So if you were following like Chicago Tri on Facebook or Instagram in the past, follow the new ones and check out on Strava. There's a new club. Facebook, there's a new page, and obviously the first timers group as well. But you've got my email here and Gillian as well. So if you guys have any questions, I think we'll probably open it up here in a second. And feel free to email us if there's not a question to ask. But I would strongly recommend, like, if you have a question, even as silly as it seems, post it in those groups, because if you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it, and other people will benefit from the answers to the questions in the group, and that's really what it's for. But I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chris. Yeah, no, absolutely. Post in the Facebook group. And yes, and so our next clinic is the swim on March 14th. And I did it. I saw, I think most all the questions were answered, but if there's still something that we missed or they have questions about, feel free to yell it out or post it again. I did, and I always forget to explain this, and so I just want to make sure everybody saw this regarding gear. So there are two separate things: triathlon clothing and wetsuits. So if you are wearing a wetsuit, you want to wear something underneath the wetsuit. So that's where the triathlon clothing comes in, is that you would wear that underneath the wetsuit, or you can just swim in triathlon, shorts and a top. But so they are two separate things, but they work together if you're wearing both. So just so everybody, I make that clear, because I always forget to say that. So I guess, and the other thing that came up is, as far as wetsuit rentals, yes, and Synergy being a great resource, and that we've talked about Urban Tri Gear down at the clinics, and Urban Tri Gear does also rent them for race day, but again, being a very large triathlon, you want to contact them early. So honestly, I would call them as soon as possible and ask them when their reservations open for race day, if you do decide to rent one for race day. We'll also try, to post some links to other to wetsuit brands that you might want to take a look at. There's a lot out there. Frankly, as soon as you start Googling it, you're going to be targeted by every wetsuit brand there is. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and about that. Let's see. And feel like so. Yeah. So on that note, I guess we'll see everybody on the May 14th for the swim. We'll stick around and answer some of the questions that are kind of trickling in. Um, but I think that's the bulk of it. So feel free to stick around if you're interested. But if not, we'll see everybody in a couple of weeks. All right.
All right, I think we got most of the
All right.
questions. I was trying to
Yeah,
get
we got them.
all the
Yeah.
ones in the chat.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, Joy. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is it. I think that's everything. All right, let's.
If anyone still on has questions, feel free to ask. I tried to make a list of all the links to from the presentation, so I think I'm going to post those in the Strava and the Facebook group just so people have that info.
Yeah,
And
no, that would be that's me.
I made that shorter link for the Facebook group too.
Yes, thank you. Wait, so is the try to is that to like the Chicago Triathlon or is that to the first timers?
No, that goes the first timers one because you can
Oh,
create like a
amazing.
little like
Okay.
custom URL. And so I noticed we didn't have
Yeah,
one. It was just
that's
like a generic number thing. So like
yeah,
I do that just so I can
that is
remember what it
way
is. And if
better.
I need to
Yes.
tell somebody, I can just like roll it off my tongue from memory.
Yes. No,
So
no,
that's
thank
handy
you
for
for
like,
doing yeah. That's amazing. Yes. So, yeah. Um awesome. Well, yeah, so so the next one is swim. Um yeah, I'll try to thank you so much. This is way better than Prezi. So thank you for the template and I'll try to switch over the Prezi to the swim and I'll send it, and yeah, and if anybody has any feedback.
yeah. And let me know if you want help.
Yeah.
Like I obviously went and made a couple quick edits and I think I
Thank
tried
you.
to make a few more, including like doing QR codes. That way if people are watching it, they can like just quickly like take a picture
Oh,
with it,
wow.
find the link. But
Yes. Yeah. No, please. I mean, yeah, it's totally open. So I'll share it, and then if anybody has any edits, yeah. And I did see they must have sent out an email or something today. I can always tell because like I think there were like
yeah,
20 or 30 new Facebook people. So hopefully the people will start asking questions and stuff. So yeah.
I don't
But
know. Do you do
all
anything with the
right.
face? I know the Facebook groups now have like a lot of automation. Like you can have like a weekly like or welcome to the new people who join the group and stuff like
See.
that. I don't know if you did anything like that in the
You
past or
you think I am way more technologically sound than I am. I am I am back in 2006 Facebook. So no, I yeah. Yeah, but I mean, again, if you like, I got those questions. I did figure out how to do that. But feel free to add anything onto it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking
So
like just like when a new person joins, we can have it be set up or like I don't know if I think it does it either by day or by week where you can say when the new people join, it'll automatically give them like a welcome email
It
and
does
then
it by the it sometimes we'll do it by the week, and sometimes he'll do it by the day.
yeah, I think we can control that. And
Yeah.
I was gonna
yeah,
do that maybe with a welcome and have like the links to everything posted there. So
that
every
would be
time new people
amazing.
join it
Yeah.
reposts it. I was gonna ask, do you because I know on the Live Grit Soars website you have that landing page for the first timers program. I don't know if that's just
Yes.
from last year or should we share that as
I,
well, or is there anything else from like your end that you think we should
yes.
try to share?
Uh, I do think I do think I updated it for this year. So yeah, it's kind of the page where I'll upload the videos once they're done, and I have the videos from last year. So it's like if somebody wants to get a head start, like they can do that. And then
We
and
can look at
I
that.
forgot to talk about the training plan. We
Oh yeah.
can once whatever's figured out about like a unified training plan, putting it there. So yeah, so definitely if you want to share that
Okay.
in the welcome email. Yeah. So
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I
uh
figured I like your webpage because it has pretty much everything on there, like the recordings from the
it,
past ones and training plan and
yes.
the link and everything. So I just didn't want to
Yes, just the
share that
welcome.
if it wasn't going to be updated for this year, but I just
No,
noticed,
that's
yeah,
what
you
I
got everything on
intend to, and I think I updated it ish.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
for this
Oh yeah, yeah.
year's. Yeah, maybe. Um, but I'll make sure it's updated, and maybe I can even because you some of the links you shared and stuff. I'll plug that in
Oh
here,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, like
as well. So
wetsuits. Yeah, wetsuits. We should probably add
exactly.
synergy
Yes.
and whatnot. So I'll take
Synergy.
a look at that and
Okay.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So
okay,
perfect.
cool.
Well, all right.
Well,
Well,
thank you for
thank
doing
you
that. That
all for
was, you know,
joining.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of work to
Yeah,
put
no,
the
but
slides together and edit them and update them. So I appreciate you continuing
no.
to do everything that you do for first timers.
Oh no, no. I always feel like a little rusty getting into it, and then I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
we got this. But yeah, so yeah. Well, if anybody again, like this is I know like I feel no like ownership over any of this, so please ideas if, like just jump it on the Facebook page. Yeah, I love that idea because I think my welcome gets pushed to the bottom, and by June nobody sees it,
Yeah.
and they're like, "What's going on?" So I had no idea that was a thing, and I love it. So yeah, perfect. Well,
Cool.
thank you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. All
Cool.
right.
Thanks
Well,
again.
see you soon.
Bye.
Alrighty. Bye.